I'm Kathryn Adamchick, Director of Education at the Contemporary Art Museum, St. Louis. Today we're talking with artist Maya Lin. I've heard you describe your work as laying an egg. What does that mean? How do you start your process?
Laying an egg is in a way to say that an idea comes out fairly fully formed when you physically end up making the model or drawing it. But that doesn't mean you might not have been letting it percolate and, in a way, come to its own creative path. I just don't think we can linearly understand that creative process that's going on within your brain.
Text is often an important element in your work. You use words and numbers to engage people in the process. Do you have difficulty then when it comes to naming your work?
Text has always been an incredible component of my work. Ironically, with a lot of the pieces, I end up writing about the piece before I imagine what the piece is. Titling of a piece always comes after it's finished, and what I've always found is the name of the piece finds me.
How do you make a landscape experience have personal meaning?
A real attraction in my work to almost what I would call, I think the word is subliminal, experience level. So it's on that outer periphery of perception. So oftentimes I've said I've been very obsessed with the curvature of the earth because we technically can't see it, or can we? The piece in the background here, again, part of me is almost playing with that idea of the hill, the magical curvature of the earth. There's always, I'm coming back to that at some times. Sometimes it's much more subtle. These pieces are also as much about focusing you on actual phenomena. Like the wire landscape is definitely a water terrain, so it's getting you to think about something you might not necessarily envision, which is what is the terrain underneath the sea. And the last piece, Blue Lake Pass, gives you a very close connection back to a representation of an actual mountain terrain. So again, what happens if you could cut the earth open and walk through it?
Do you listen to music when you work in the studio?
In my studio, I'm always listening to music. In fact, I find it actually very hard to make work without music. My assistants are always a lot younger, and they keep me fairly informed of the much younger artists. I think I drove them crazy because I came across the Garden State soundtrack. I think Zach Brack put it together. And for about 2 to 3 years, I listened to nothing but that one soundtrack, and they were just begging me to put something else on. So they brought in everyone from the Feist to, I think, the Blow, and God, I never know the names of the artists, but it's fairly contemporary work, is what I listen to.
Do you ever revisit your monuments to see how people respond to them?
I am someone who basically, I'm so much involved in the process of making the work and the exploration of what I'm learning by making that in a funny way, once I'm finished with it, I've emotionally detached from it. And I'm not someone who, at times I've actually forgotten about certain pieces, and it's sort of hard for me to bring it back sometimes, because I think part of me is I'm learning so much from it, and then I'm always on to the next thing that I'm trying to kind of work out or experience or figure out. So right now there are probably 3 things that this show has taught me that I'm really intrigued to explore. And so I'll be kind of running down that pathway now. And so there is this definite sense that once it's been completed, I've learned enough from it that I've almost in a way emotionally moved on.